Hello, Bellevue. It's your friendly interim superintendent, Art Jarvis. The other day, I was having a conversation with Ms. Allison Snow, the president of the Bellevue Education Association. And as we were talking, it became clear that it might be a message that we could share with people because there's a fair amount of interest. So first, I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Allison Snow, president of the Bellevue Education Association. Allison, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Allison Snow. This is my fourth year as president of Bellevue Education Association. Started off here in the Bellevue School District back in 2007 as a fifth grade teacher at Puesta del Sol Elementary. I've also worked at Woodridge and Cherry Crest in my time here, and I've had a great opportunity to get to know the phenomenal people who work here and see this system as it functions and as it could be. And that's part of why I do the work I do now as a union leader, is to see how can we make this system work better for its people, for its students, for its community.
So as you might guess, we will have periodic conversations. And in this case, I'm going to let Allison kind of repeat the question that was asked that prompted our idea that we could share this. So Allison, would you share that general interest statement that led to this conversation?
Yeah, as we talked on Monday, we were really discussing, that value that we have as a district of our exceptional staff. And our exceptional staff have, put out their all over the last several years and are really asking, what are we doing as a system to support them, to provide the stability that's needed for them to keep taking care of our students.
Let me give kind of three pieces of good news. The first is that we are not anticipating any RIF, as they call it. RIF is a reduction in force of a significant number of teachers. We will have a slightly smaller enrollment, particularly at the elementary, probably a dozen teachers less than we had last year, but that will be handled through attrition, just people who are retiring or were long-term substitutes. So there will be no general layoff. Secondly is that it appears as we look at the endemic and the pandemic that we can have a fairly stable picture ahead of us on what we plan and how to do it. So we're not going to be in the same position of trying to plan for multiple modalities and multiple delivery systems and people hanging loose as to whether they're going to be teaching in person or virtually. We've done the preliminary sign up on our virtual school, and it's not a huge demand at this point. So it looks like we'll not be in that position, Allison, where we have classroom space we're holding for the families that will return eventually from that. The news is that brings stability to the staff. The third piece is that while there's declining enrollment in Bellevue, and that's a combination of housing prices being unaffordable and visas overseas that are not being used to bring in contract employees, is that we're able to withstand that and make that adjustment, and it's not going to be something that puts staff on notice of major declines in any way. We will not be needing to hold space in our classrooms for families to come back, so we can return somewhat to our normal class size. We don't have a world in which we're looking at things that are destabilizing. I want to be careful that every fall, probably for as long as I've been in the business, there will always be adjustments. There will be more kindergartners that show up at one building than we expected, or there'll be fewer second graders. And the schools are very accustomed to monitoring their enrollment daily. And then when possible, as Allison knows, we make those adjustments in late August and before the school year starts to every extent possible. Once in a while, we should have some transfer that needs to be made after school starts, but that should be fairly minimal this year. So I think what I'm trying to share is really a good news story. We are truly emerging from the crisis of where we've been the last 2 years, you have to admire the staff and what they have done and what they've contributed. And I give them the deepest from the heart thank you. And in return, promise them that as we do the planning this spring, we are not in crisis. We are stable. We're going to be able to be stable in the fall. And that's a long-winded answer, but I hope it says to the world, Bellevue's in a good place. And we're in a good place for the kids, for the parents to do their planning, and ultimately for you to say to the staff, we are healthy and we are on track. Thank you, Allison.